The whole town had gathered to watch
come with
Ruth
Henry's
abandon
letter.
her scarred husband.
Elias Vale.
Instead, she
Your
climbed the
face.
church steps,
happened?
pulled the black cloth from Elias Vale's
You
face,
worked so
and
hard.
cried,
Elias Vale,
"Look at
you're
him
under
closely. Those
This
scars
document clears
belong
his
to the
name.
only man
He
who
is
tried to
innocent."
save your children." The laughter died. The sheriff reached for his gun. Then a rifle cracked from the roof across the street,
He is still a
and
man.
Elias threw
Look at
himself
him.
in front of the woman who had once been ashamed to call him her husband. To understand why someone wanted Ruth silenced, we must return to the day she first arrived in Red Hollow. Before we begin, tell us where you are listening from. Like the story, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts below. And, if you have ever seen a good person judged unfairly, we would be honored to hear your experience. The stagecoach rolled into Red Hollow, beneath a sky the color of old tin. Ruth Mercer stepped down with one brown trunk, one weathered letter, and the last of her courage. She was 24, tired from 6 days of travel, and dressed in the best blue dress she owned. She expected Henry Vale to be waiting. His letters had spoken of a large ranch, clear streams, and a white house near the cottonwoods. He had written that loneliness was a harder winter than snow. Ruth had believed him, but no wealthy rancher stood beside the station. Only a tall man in a blacksmith's apron waited near a hitching rail. The left side of his face was hidden beneath a dark cloth scarf. What little she could see was marked by heavy scars. "Miss Mercer?" he asked. His voice was low and careful. Ruth tightened her hand around Henry's letter. "Where is Mr. Vale?" The man removed his hat. "My brother is dead." The words struck harder than the desert wind. Ruth stared at him. Dead? 3 weeks ago. His horse fell in Dry Bone Canyon. The station master looked away. 2 men outside the saloon whispered, then laughed. The scarred man continued. "My name is Elias Vale. Henry was my older brother." Ruth's knees weakened. She had sold her room in St. Louis. She had left her sewing work. She had spent nearly every dollar coming west. Why did no one send word? "We tried. You were already traveling." Ruth looked down the dusty road. Red Hollow was smaller than Henry had described. A church bell hung crooked above a plain chapel. The saloon doors creaked in the wind. Across the street, a sheriff leaned against his office porch and watched without greeting her. "What happens to me now?" Ruth asked. Elias glanced toward the men by the saloon. One called out, "Maybe the blacksmith can finish what Henry started." Laughter rolled across the street. Elias did not answer them. He only said, "Henry left a signed marriage agreement. He also left debts. The ranch may be taken before winter." Ruth felt foolish, cheated, and trapped. "Then there was never any fortune." "There was land," Elias said. "And there may still be, if the debt is false." That caught her attention. Before she could ask more, a broad man in a gray coat crossed the road. His boots were polished despite the dust. "Silas Creed," he said, smiling. "I own the bank and most of what remains standing in this town." His eyes settled on Ruth's trunk. "You have been misled, ma'am. Henry Vale was reckless. His brother is worse. Folks say Elias brings ruin wherever he goes." Elias's jaw tightened. Creed leaned closer to Ruth. "I can arrange a room at the hotel and a return ticket east. All you must do is sign away any claim tied to Henry's agreement." Elias finally looked at her. He did not beg. That somehow troubled her more. Ruth studied Creed's paper. At the bottom was a legal description of the Vale Ranch. Beside it sat a small black mark shaped like a broken wheel. She had seen that mark before. It was pressed into the wax seal on Henry's final letter. Ruth folded the paper without signing it. "I will not decide in the street." Creed's smile faded. Elias lifted her trunk as though it weighed nothing. "You can stay at the ranch tonight. Tomorrow, I will take you anywhere you choose." As they walked, a little girl on a porch stared at Elias's covered face. Her mother pulled her inside. Ruth pretended not to notice. Near sunset, they reached a lonely cabin beside a burned barn. Black beams rose from the earth like crooked fingers. Elias stopped at the gate. "This is where the fire happened," he said. Ruth looked at the ruins, then at his scars. "Did you start it?" For the first time, anger flashed in his eyes. "No." A loose board knocked in the wind. Then Ruth saw something nailed beneath the ranch gate, a fresh strip of paper bearing the same broken wheel mark. On it were 6 words, "Leave before the bride learns the truth." Ruth read the warning twice. "Leave before the bride learns the truth." The paper trembled in her hand. Elias tore it from the gate and looked toward the darkening hills. "Go inside." "Who put this here?" "I don't know." "You are lying." His face hardened, but his voice stayed calm. "I know people want the ranch. I do not know which one came this close." Ruth followed him into the cabin. The place was plain but clean. A lantern stood on the table. 2 tin plates had already been set out. Fresh bread rested beside a pot of stew. "You prepared all this?" she asked. Elias placed another piece of wood in the stove. "I did not know whether you would stay." That simple answer unsettled her. She had expected a rough man. Instead, he gave her the only bedroom and slept beside the stove. He never entered without knocking. He spoke little, but each morning hot coffee waited for her. For 3 days, Ruth watched him work at the forge. Elias repaired wagon wheels, horseshoes, plows, and broken tools. Men mocked him while asking for his help. He never refused them. On the 4th morning, a ranch boy arrived with a horse dragging a loose shoe. Elias calmed the frightened animal with one hand and fixed the shoe without charging the boy. "You are not what they say," Ruth told him afterward. He kept his eyes on the anvil. People usually say what helps them sleep. That evening, Silas Creed came to the cabin. He brought flowers and another return ticket. "You do not belong here," he told Ruth. "A young woman should not throw away her life on a man who hides his face." Elias stood near the forge but said nothing. Ruth looked at Creed. "Why do you want this land so badly?" His smile weakened. "Business." "Then why threaten me?" "I have never threatened you." Ruth showed him the warning from the gate. For one brief moment, his eyes moved toward the broken wheel mark. Then he laughed. "That symbol belonged to Henry. Perhaps your dead husband was not as honest as you believed." Elias stepped forward. Creed rested one hand near the pistol beneath his coat. "Careful, Blacksmith. The last fire already cost you 1 face." Ruth saw Elias's hand close into a fist, but he stepped back. Creed left the flowers on the table and rode away. That night, Ruth found Elias in the burned barn. He stood among the black beams, holding a small silver locket. "Was it Henry's?" she asked. Elias shook his head. He opened it. Inside was the faded picture of a young woman holding a baby. "My wife, Anna," he said, "and our son." Ruth's anger disappeared. "They died in the fire?" Elias nodded. "The town says I left a lamp burning. Henry said he saw me drinking that night. I remembered smoke, shouting, and waking outside with my face burned. Did you believe Henry? He was my brother." Ruth looked around the ruins. "And now? Now I believe he was afraid of something." Elias reached beneath a loose floor plank and pulled out a weathered letter. "Henry gave me this the week before he died." The letter contained only 2 lines. "The fire was meant to empty the north pasture. Find the deed before Creed does." Ruth read it again. "What is in the north pasture?" Elias stared toward the hills. "Water. The only deep spring for miles. Without it, every nearby ranch would eventually depend on Silas Creed." The next morning, Ruth made her choice. "I will marry you." Elias looked stunned. "You do not owe me that. This is not kindness. Henry's agreement gives me a legal claim. If Creed wants the land, he will have to face both of us." The wedding took place in the small chapel. The whole town came to watch. Some whispered. Some laughed when Elias lifted the cloth from his face long enough to say his vows. Ruth heard a woman murmur, "She married a monster for dirt." Ruth looked at Elias's scarred face. Then she took his hand. After the ceremony, the sheriff blocked their path. "Elias Vale," he said, "you are under arrest for the murder of your brother." The crowd fell silent. The sheriff held up a blood-stained blacksmith's hammer. Carved into its handle was the broken wheel mark. The sheriff pushed Elias against the chapel wall and locked iron cuffs around his wrists. Ruth stepped between them. "Where did you find that hammer?" "In Drybone Canyon," Sheriff Cole said, "near the place Henry died." Silas Creed stood behind the crowd. wearing the calm face of a grieving friend. Elias stared at the blood-stained tool. "That is not mine." "Your initials are carved beneath the handle," the sheriff replied. Ruth examined it closely. The letters EV were there, but they looked fresh. The broken wheel mark was older. Then she remembered Elias's forge. Every tool he owned carried a small mark shaped like a horseshoe, not a broken wheel. "This hammer belonged to Henry," Ruth said. Creed laughed. "Henry was a rancher, not a blacksmith." "No," Elias whispered. "He worked beside me when we were boys." The sheriff began pulling him toward the jail. Ruth had one choice. She could stay silent and keep herself safe, or trust a man she had known for only a few days. She ran back to the ranch. Inside Henry's final letter, the wax seal still carried the broken wheel mark. Ruth held it near the lantern and noticed a thin line beneath the wax. She carefully warmed the seal. A folded strip of paper slipped from inside. It was part of a land deed. The north pasture did not belong to Henry or Elias alone. It had been placed in trust for every ranch family in Red Hollow. No banker could own the spring or charge the town for its water. At the bottom were 3 witness names: Henry Vale, Elias Vale, and Sheriff Amos Cole. Ruth returned to town as the church bell rang noon. The sheriff had taken Elias onto the courthouse steps, where the crowd could see him. Ruth climbed beside them and raised the deed. Sheriff Cole witnessed this agreement. He knew Creed could never legally own the spring. The sheriff's face turned pale. Creed reached for his pistol. Ruth pulled the cloth from Elias's face and shouted, "Look at him closely. Those scars belong to the only man who tried to save your children." The laughter died. Then a rifle cracked from the roof across the street. Elias threw himself in front of Ruth. The bullet struck the wooden post beside his shoulder. People scattered. A second man appeared behind the shooter and knocked the rifle from his hands. It was the ranch boy whose horse Elias had repaired. "My pa saw him climb up there," the boy cried. The shooter was Creed's foreman. With the crowd watching, Sheriff Cole could no longer hide. His shoulders dropped. "Henry learned the truth," he confessed. "Creed started the barn fire years ago. He wanted the north pasture empty. Henry helped him place the lamp, but he did not know Anna and the baby were inside." Elias looked as though the ground had opened beneath him. "My brother knew? He carried the guilt for years," Cole said. "Before he died, he planned to expose Creed. Creed followed him into the canyon. They fought. Henry fell." Creed's voice shook. "I built this town. Without my loans, half of you would have starved. And with your spring," Ruth said, "the other half would have belonged to you." Creed reached for his gun again. This time the sheriff drew first. He arrested Creed, then removed Elias's cuffs. Sheriff Cole also surrendered his own badge. Months later, the North Spring was open to every family named in the deed. Elias rebuilt the barn, but he left one burned beam standing. Not as a monument to shame, as a warning against judging a man by the story told about him. Ruth never received the grand white ranch house promised in Henry's letters. She lived in a small cabin beside a noisy forge. Yet each evening, Elias came home, washed the soot from his hands, and sat beside her under the cottonwoods. He no longer covered his face, and when strangers stared, Ruth simply took his hand. The town had once laughed because she married the scarred blacksmith. In time, they understood the truth. Elias had hidden his face because the scars reminded him of the family he believed he had failed. But Ruth loved him because those same scars proved something else. When everyone else had run from the fire, he had gone inside. The end.